Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. Along with James Wesley, Amari Tepkin. And as our Modelo offseason series continues, we are breaking down our top 5 players at every position. Yesterday, we did our top 5 defensive players after doing our top 5 defensive tackles, defensive ends, safeties, corners, and linebackers. Now we start on the offensive side of the football by looking at arguably the most important position, and a position that is definitely undergoing some massive change in the Big 12, and that's the tackle position. So let's break down our top 5 offensive tackles heading into this 2026-2027 season, James.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with all the turnover at this position. This was a loaded position for the Big 12 last year. This year, there's a lot of newcomers in terms of not just newcomers in the league, but like there's going to be new players on the all Big 12 teams because so many departed. There's not a lot of returning guys. Last year's all Big 12 teams, first, second, and third, only featured one transfer. So with that said, I went with a lot of returners. At number 5, I have TCU left tackle Ben Taylor Whitfield, 6'6", 315, a senior, played for one of the premier programs in the country in Duncanville High School during his high school tenure, and he has started every year on the offensive line. He was the first TCU true freshman to start on the offensive line since 2012. That was 3 years ago. Now he's a senior. So he's been back and forth between left tackle and right tackle. Last year he started at right tackle. They moved him to left after 4 games because he was so good. He helped TCU post some insane offensive numbers, including a major uptick in their ground game. And now they have an offensive coordinator in Gordon Samus, who's an offensive line mastermind. They've got a quarterback who's not going to be turning the ball over. I think he's the anchor on their offensive line. I've got Ben Taylor Whitfield at number 5.
That's too low. Number 5 for me is the true freshman tackle Felix Ojo from Texas Tech. 5-star. I think this is a guy that starts right away and will be a 3-year starter at left tackle, then move on to the NFL and be a top 10 pick. And look, there are 2 5-stars that I could have had in this spot, including Kelvin Obot from Utah, but I went with Felix Ojo. And look, I mean, for me, again, the talent, the pedigree, the size, the power, it's exactly what you're looking for in the tackle position. The number 5 overall prospect of the 2026 class. And, I mean, he allowed 0 sacks as a senior at Lake Ridge High School, only 4 pressures the entire season. He was an All-American by Max Prepp's rivals and Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and won the Anthony Munoz Award as the best high school football lineman in the country. Felix Ojo, the Texas Tech tackle, number 5 for me.
Yeah, he's got Jordan Seaton accolades out of high school. Number 4 for me is Andrew Gentry, the BYU right tackle. What a journey he's had. First of all, he's going to turn 25 years old in October. He committed to Virginia out of high school to play for former BYU coach Bronco Mendenhall. Then, after Mendenhall resigns, he opens his recruitment. He goes to Michigan. After Michigan, he serves a 2-year mission in Argentina, but because of COVID, moves back to the Utah area. His brother played basketball at BYU. He's always been a BYU guy. And last year, he started 14 games at right tackle. He was honorable mention All Big 12, but he was paving the way for LJ Martin, the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year at running back. He's projected to be a NFL Draft Day 2 candidate. The only thing that might hurt him is his age, but I've got Andrew Gentry at number 4.
Yeah, Gentry just missed my list. Number 4 for me is Caden Siraki, the tackle from Baylor, played nearly 1,000 snaps in 2025, did not allow a single sack, only 2 quarterback hits the entire season, was only flagged for holding 4 times. Combination of nearly 1,000 snaps played, 0 sacks allowed, and 4 penalties in a full season is really good in terms of just being the full package at tackle. So, I mean, look, he's going to enter as probably the most important player in this offense for Baylor to keep DJ Lagway upright. And they've got the right guy in the right spot to do that. Caden Siraki, number 4 for me.
Yeah, they've loaded up in the portal on the offensive line, too. At number 3, I have John Pastor from Kansas State. He was second-team All-Big 12 last year. He's a guy that really never got on the field until just this past season, so nobody knew anything about him. He redshirted in 2022, and then he battled a ton of injuries in 23 and 24. Never even had a career start until this past season, his 4th year in the program. He played in all 12 games, all starts at left tackle, over 700 snaps, second team All Big 12. He's an academic All Big 12 guy. And because of all the injuries, he gets another year. So he could be All Big 12 once again this season as a returning starter who had never started before. I've got Pastor at number 3.
Number 3 for me is the left tackle for Texas Tech, Howard Sampson, who I think, like, we look at the guys that got drafted by Tech, every one of them improved. I don't know how much Sampson improved last year. I think Sampson a year ago, he'll be one and done at Texas Tech. And that just didn't work itself out. He I think, got a draft grade that said 5th or 6th round, and he thought, I got to go back and get higher. He's 6'8", 340 pounds. All right, so start right there with your left tackle, 6'8", 340. He's a mountain of a man. And, I mean, he was the 4th highest graded tackle in the Big 12, according to Pro Football Focus. And he had the 2nd highest pass blocking grade in the entire conference behind only Jordan Seaton. So I think, like, those numbers alone stand out. The one thing, though, and this is the knock on him, was he committed 13 penalties in 2025. And it's the pre-snap discipline that was the biggest issue for him, a lot of false start penalties. So he's got to get that fixed and cleaned up and continue to show that power and drive. But I've got Howard Sampson, the tackle from Texas Tech, at number 3 for me.
Let's go back-to-back with Mr. Sampson, because I have Howard Sampson at number 2. He is the most athletically gifted offensive lineman in the conference, 6'8", 340. You hit the nail on the head with his penalties, 13 last year, and he had 10 the year before at North Carolina. So it was already an issue, and it got worse his first year at Texas Tech. That's the only thing holding him back from being a first-round NFL draft talent, from being first-team All-Big 12. He started all 14 games. He has the highest Pro Football Focus grade of any returning Texas Tech offensive lineman, and there are 3 guys coming back. That offense that ranked 7th nationally in scoring. He also made Bruce Feldman's Freaks list because of everything he does in the weight room at 6'8", 340. Like, that's it. You clean up the false start penalties, and you're a multi-millionaire long-term NFL contract. Like, that's the only thing that's holding this kid back.
Number 2 for me is Joe Cotton, the guy you have at number 1, the Cincinnati redshirt senior, 6'7", 310 pounds. He started all 13 games and was part of one of the best offensive lines in college football last year that only gave up 7 sacks and 39 tackles for loss. The unit was a Joe Moore Award semifinalist, so you think about the guy who played left tackle who returns. That's a huge, huge addition. And look, I mean, a year ago, this was one of the best transfer portal recruits or transfer portal players in the entire conference, and he, I think, lived up to that billing from South Dakota with what he did last year at the left tackle position at Cincinnati. I have Joe Cotton at number 2.
Completely agree. Super high on Joe Cotton. I've got Joe Cotton as my number 1 offensive tackle in the Big 12. And you could almost argue that he underachieved last year, considering all the preseason hype as being the number 1 offensive line portal addition in the league. But he's the only guy returning who was first-team All-Big 12. Started all 13 games. Joe Moore Award semifinalist unit. Allowed just 7 sacks, the second fewest nationally. The offensive line, I should say, collectively. He was an FCS All-American at South Dakota and super under-recruited because he hadn't developed into his body when he was playing at Roosevelt High School in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So he goes FCS to Big 12. He's just the most proven guy to me, not necessarily in terms of longevity, but in terms of being an All-Big 12 guy. And he was the only transfer last year that made any of the All-Big 12 teams. So I've got Cotton at number 1.
Number 1 for me is the guy you had at number 5, Ben Taylor Whitfield. He's the first true freshman to start on the offensive line for TCU since 2012. And then he stepped into the full starting right tackle role the last 9 games of 24. He started 22 games over the last 2 seasons. So I just think the experience for me is what pushed him over the edge. This is a guy that I think has grown a ton over his career, and now he takes on a huge leadership role, as a senior at TCU. Offensive line coach Ricker called out Taylor Whitfield's growth between the years in spring of 2026 practice, quote, saying he matured significantly over the last 3 months with the talent and skills already in place. It was the mentality, the IQ that probably needed to grow the most, and he's got that now, it appears. Ben Taylor Whitfield, maybe the most underrated tackle in all of college football, number 1 on my list. Who do we miss?
Man, we have a lot of parallels, and Ben Taylor Whitfield is maybe the most intriguing of any of the guys because you have him at number 1. I had him at number 5. 3-star recruit out of high school from Duncanville. TCU fell in love with his body. He's been on the field a ton, but he hasn't been all Big 12. He was honorable mention, and so in terms of like the potential, absolutely, he could be the number one guy in this league, especially with Gordon Samus, who is an offensive line guru. I mean, that is how he built his coaching career and his pedigree. So I love that pick. Who did we miss? Who did I have as others receiving votes?
Real quick on Gentry. Gentry was a guy who was my honorable mention. The biggest reason for that is we just haven't seen it as much. Like, he was really good the first few weeks, then he had a really bad injury, and so now he's coming back from that injury, and he does appear to be healthy. And he's in a really big spot for BYU in terms of their offensive line. For me, their offensive line is the biggest question mark. But that's why I didn't have Gentry on my list, basically coming off an injury versus like a Ben Taylor Whitfield who just started 22 straight games.
Totally. Braden Nelson, the Oklahoma State left tackle, who comes with Coach Morris from North Texas. Didn't have a ton of offers out of high school, but he was second-team All-American last season, had a really good offensive pro football focus grade. He started all 13 games, but he can also play some guard, so I'm not sure where Oklahoma State's going to have him. So he just missed for me. Let's see, who else did I have? Drew Terrell, the Houston right tackle. So he's a transfer from Miami, Ohio, but he had the number 1 run blocking grade in the entire MAC. He had the number 2 run blocking grade by anybody in the conference, guard, center, tackle, anybody on the offensive line. Started all 12 games, was second-team all-conference. I think he's a really underrated pickup. Bo Hughley is intriguing to me.
Yes.
The Colorado left tackle. He's going to be the guy that fills in for Jordan Seaton. Like, they're expecting big things from him. He was a 5-star out of high school. They call him Big Bo because he's been wearing a size 16 shoe since middle school. Like, he has an insane pedigree and, like, NFL-ready body, but the mental part just hasn't been there yet. That's why he couldn't get on the field at Georgia.
Yeah, a couple other guys. Kelvin Obot is an incoming 5-star freshman for Utah, who's a guy kind of like Ojo that you could immediately plug in potentially left tackle. And that's where, for me, it was really difficult to sort of parse between Ojo and Obot. But Obot was the guy that was just missing my list. And then I think one of the more underrated players in the tackle position is Calvin Clements, left tackle for Kansas, started all games last year. And I think he had some issues, but ultimately, like, he's back at left tackle. They're going to have him compete, I think, but he'll win the job, and I think he's a guy that could take a huge step forward. For a Kansas program that's done really good at left tackle, just had a guy get drafted. They've done really well at that position. Earl Bostic's another guy that's playing in the NFL, so that to me has been that has not been a position of issue for the Jayhawks under Lance Leipold.
Yeah, and when I looked at KU's projected depth chart, you know, Enrique Cruz, to your point, is off to the NFL. I couldn't identify like who their number 1 offensive lineman is expected to be, whereas a lot of these other schools, it kind of stood out more. Jake Taylor is intriguing to me at Iowa State. He's maybe their number 1 transfer. He was a 4-star out of high school, the number 1 prospect in the state of Nevada. He's from Las Vegas and played for that high school powerhouse Bishop Gorman. He was the number 4 offensive tackle in the nation coming out of high school. I mean, a top 4 prospect. And he originally signed with Oklahoma, but again, he's a guy kind of like Gentry that's battled injuries throughout. He only played in 4 games in 2024, and then he missed all of last season due to an injury, which is why a lot of teams, I think, didn't pursue him more. And so he lands at Iowa State. But physically, he's one of the more gifted tackles in the league.
What's really interesting, you know, we talked, I think, big picture about the defense, and there's certainly some position groups that look to have really good depth. There's some major position groups that are questionable. Offensive tackle is maybe the most intriguing position group because we just saw 3 Big 12 offensive linemen go off the board in the first round of the NFL draft, including 2 from Utah, Infano and Lomu, and then Ahanator from Arizona State. So that's just a few of the guys. I mean, other guys, Enrique Cruz, were drafted as well. So, like, the position takes a step back based on losses for the draft, but you're replenishing that. And even with Seaton losing as well, you're replenishing that with Ojo and Obot. Utah has multiple incoming freshmen, 4-stars that could potentially factor in right away. So it's just an intriguing group because I think, like, we looked at quarters and it's like, man, this could be rough. Mm-hmm. Offensive tackles, to me, like, this could be a major strength for the Big 12 overall, but there's just a lot of unknowns about it.
Well, and because the Big 12 is not behind the curve compared to the other leagues. Offensive lineman, it's a premium position, especially offensive tackle in the NFL. So the other conferences are losing all of their all-league guys as well. But the Baylor offensive tackles graduated. Sam Hecht is gone. Spencer Fano is gone. And I'm just talking offensive line in general. Looking at the Big 12 All-League team from last year, Caleb Lomu is gone. The only returner that was All-League is Bruce Mitchell from BYU. And the only tackle that made any All-League team coming back this year is Joe Cotton. I mean, Max Ahanichor was second-team All-Big 12, and he was a first-round NFL draft pick. So that tells you how deep the position was last year. John Pastor was second-team All-Big 12. He's back. Seaton transfers out. Evan Tingsdahl from Cincinnati, he's back as a redshirt junior this year. And then even the third team loses a lot of guys. 20% of the Big 12 offensive linemen that were All-League last year are coming back. 80% gone. But that's no different than any other league because of the pedigree that position holds now.
Big 12 today, Big 12 Radio presented by Modelo. There's a look at our offensive tackles. The offensive tackle as a whole. We'll take a look at the interior offensive linemen on tomorrow's show, including guards and center. On the way next, though, let's get into the latest on Brendan Sorsby. Is there a path for Sorsby and eligibility? That's next. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.